Welcome, chosen ones. This message is not for the faint of heart, but for those who have lived in the shadow of their own family's rejection. For those who have tried to be everything they thought would earn love, respect, and belonging, only to be met with criticism, control, and shame. You've carried this weight for too long, and today we're going to lay it down. From the beginning, something about you set you apart. You could never put your finger on it, but deep down, you knew. There was always something wrong with you in their eyes. You were too loud when you were excited, too quiet when you were thoughtful, too bold when you spoke your truth, too weak when you showed emotion. Your very existence seemed to be a problem, and you began to wonder if you were the issue. And so, you tried to fix yourself. You tried to mold yourself into the image they wanted. You changed your tone, your style, your habits, even the way you walked into a room. You silenced your voice, believing it would bring peace. You dimmed your light, thinking it would make you easier to love. But no matter how hard you tried, it was never enough. The goalposts kept moving and the love you longed for stayed just out of reach. That's when the shame began to creep in, like a thief in the night. You started to believe their words. You began to question your worth, your identity, even your purpose. Anxiety became your shadow, following you into every room. Self-doubt whispered in your ear, and sometimes, in your lowest moments, you even turned that pain inward. For some, it showed up as self-harm. For others, it was the silent suffering of isolation. But then, you saw something that shook you. You saw other families, healthy families. You saw parents who celebrated their children, who laughed with them, who supported them without strings attached. You witnessed siblings who were allies, not rivals. You saw love that wasn't conditional, smiles that weren't fake, and care that didn't come with a price. And it made you wonder, why not me? It wasn't jealousy you felt. It was grief. Grief for the childhood you never had, for the love you deserved but never received. And as painful as it was, it opened your eyes to the truth. It wasn't you. It was never you. You weren't the problem. You were the scapegoat, the one they projected their own insecurities, failures, and frustrations onto. They didn't see your light. They resented it because it exposed their own darkness. When you started to understand this, something shifted. Slowly, you began to distance yourself, not out of hatred, but out of self-preservation. You realized that every time you stepped into their presence, your peace was disturbed. They didn't want to build you up. They wanted to control you. And when they saw that their grip on you was loosening, they panicked. They did what they've always done. They turned you into the villain. They accused you of abandoning the family. They said you were ungrateful, selfish, even cruel. They twisted the narrative to make it seem like you were the problem once again. They played their games, pulling others into their web of manipulation, hoping to isolate you. But this time, it didn't work. Because this time, you knew the truth. Their words still sting sometimes, let's be honest about that. They know how to press your buttons, how to awaken that little child in you who just wants to be loved. But now, you have a shield forged by God's truth and His love for you. Isaiah 41:10 reminds us, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, I will uphold you with my righteous right hand." You are no longer fighting for their acceptance because you've realized something profound. You don't need it. You're no longer seeking to be the version of yourself they wanted you to be, because you're becoming the version God created you to be. And while their words may reach your ears, they no longer define your heart. You've stopped explaining yourself, stopped justifying your boundaries, stopped trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Let them talk. Let them paint you as the villain. You know who you are, and more importantly, you know whose you are. You are a child of God, fearfully and wonderfully made. They can no longer diminish your worth, because your worth was never theirs to give. This journey isn't easy, but it's holy. It's a path of shedding old wounds, breaking free from chains of manipulation, and stepping fully into the identity God has for you. And as you walk this path, remember, you are not alone. The one who knit you together in your mother's womb walks beside you, strengthening you for every step. Psalm 34:18 tells us, "The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit." Your family's rejection may have weakened you for a season, but it has not destroyed you. In fact, it has refined you. Today, you stand stronger, wiser, and more resilient than ever before. Their attempts to control you, to break you, to define you have failed. Because you belong to God, not to their opinions. Their words, though sharp as daggers, no longer have the power to define you. But the story doesn't end there. No, because the narrative they've spun, this story of you as the villain, is one they cling to desperately. It's their last weapon, their final attempt to pull you back into their grip. And it hurts, doesn't it? It hurts because, for all their flaws, they are still your family. You've heard it before. The accusations that you've changed, that you've abandoned them, that you think you're better than them. They say you're selfish, ungrateful, and cold-hearted. They spin these lies, not just to themselves but to others, hoping to isolate you further. They can't accept that your boundaries are not an attack on them, but a protection for you. Sometimes their words slip through your defenses, don't they? A comment, a look, a memory. It all comes rushing back. You hear the echoes of your childhood. Why can't you be more like so-and-so? Or you'll never be enough. For a moment, you feel like that little child again, yearning for approval, desperate to belong. But then, you remember who you are now and who you belong to. God has shown you a different way. He has lifted the veil, and now you see clearly. Their control, their manipulation, their toxic games, it's not love. It never was. True love, the love that comes from God, doesn't shame you or tear you down. 1 Corinthians 13:4-7 reminds us, "Love is patient and kind. Love does not envy or boast. It is not arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful." When you saw healthy families, it wasn't just a glimpse of what you lacked. It was a glimpse of what God's love looks like. Parents who nurture, siblings who support, homes filled with joy and laughter. It wasn't perfection you witnessed, it was grace. Grace for one another's flaws, grace for each person's individuality. It was a stark contrast to the conditional love you grew up with. The love that demanded you be someone else to deserve it. And that realization was both freeing and devastating. Freeing because you finally understood that their rejection wasn't your fault. Devastating because you realized you could never make them see you for who you truly are. You spent years trying, bending, breaking, sacrificing pieces of yourself to fit into a mold that was never meant for you. But no more. Today, you stand in the truth. And that truth is this: you were not created to be controlled by anyone but guided by God. You were not meant to shrink yourself to make others comfortable. You were meant to stand tall in the purpose He has for you. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord." So let them say you've abandoned your family. Let them accuse you of being selfish, ungrateful, or heartless. Their words may sting, but they cannot stick. Because you know the truth. You didn't abandon them. You reclaimed yourself. You didn't walk away out of hatred. You walked away out of love. For your own peace, your own healing, your own calling. Yes, there are times when their words pierce through. Times when their accusations stir up old wounds. Times when you question if you're doing the right thing. But in those moments, you must remember this: God sees your heart. He knows the battles you've fought, the tears you've cried, the prayers you've whispered in the dark. He is your refuge, your strength, your comfort. Psalm 55:22 urges us, "Cast your burden on the Lord, and He will sustain you. He will never permit the righteous to be moved." The most painful battles are not fought with strangers, but with those who share our blood, our memories, our past. Family, the ones who should protect, nurture, and uplift, are often the ones who wound us the deepest. Their words, their actions, their judgments, these are the arrows they send to pierce your heart. But you are not defenseless. You are not without wisdom, strength, or the power of God to shield you. Today, I will teach you how to protect yourself from their attacks, how to disarm their manipulation, and how to keep your peace. First, remember this foundational truth. Their attacks are not about you. They are about them. Their words are often rooted in their own fears, insecurities, and need for control. You became their target because you refused to fit into the mold they created for you. You dared to be different, to shine your light, to walk in your truth. John 15:18 says, "If the world hates you, keep in mind that it hated me first." This applies even to your family. Their resistance to your authenticity is not a reflection of your value, but of their inability to accept what they cannot control or understand. When they come at you with accusations, when they try to guilt you into submission, remember, you are not obligated to respond to every attack. Silence is a weapon too. Not every battle is yours to fight, and sometimes the most powerful response is no response at all. The Bible tells us in Proverbs 17:28, "Even fools are thought wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues." Your silence denies them the reaction they crave and keeps you in control. But what about when you must respond? When silence is not an option and their words demand an answer? This is when wisdom becomes your armor and your words become your shield. Speak with calmness and clarity, refusing to engage in their emotional games. Say, "I hear your concerns, but I need to make choices that align with my peace and purpose." This response disarms their attempt to bait you into conflict, while affirming your right to live according to God's plan, not their expectations. When they accuse you of abandoning the family, of being selfish, respond with truth cloaked in grace. Say, I love this family, but I cannot sacrifice my well-being to meet expectations that were never meant for me. I hope one day you'll see that my boundaries are not rejection, but self-preservation. This doesn't give them room to twist your words, but it also holds them accountable for their behavior without hostility. Protecting yourself also means setting boundaries. Firm, unshakable boundaries. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out, but fences to protect your peace. Say to them, "I will not participate in conversations that are disrespectful or demeaning. If this continues, I will remove myself." Then follow through. Your boundaries teach them that their behavior has consequences, and they cannot simply trample over your well-being. Understand that their attacks may not always be overt. Sometimes it's the subtle digs, the backhanded compliments, the comparisons. These are their attempts to plant seeds of doubt in your mind. When this happens, counter their negativity with affirmations of truth. Say to yourself, "I am not who they say I am. I am who God says I am." Repeat it until their words lose their power. They will accuse you of being cold, distant, even heartless when you begin to protect yourself. But remember, distance is not cruelty. It is clarity. Say, "I am choosing distance because I need clarity. I still love you, but I cannot allow this relationship to harm me anymore." Your words must come from a place of strength, not anger. Let them feel your resolve, not your resentment. When their words manage to slip past your defenses, and they will because you are human, do not let guilt or shame take root. Take those wounds to God immediately. Lay them at His feet and say, "Lord, this pain is too heavy for me to carry. Heal my heart and remind me of my worth." The enemy will try to use their words to pull you back into old patterns of self-doubt, but you must counterattack with Scripture. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Not their words, not their manipulation, not their judgment. And let us not forget prayer. Prayer is your ultimate defense. Pray for strength, pray for wisdom, and yes, pray for them. Not because they deserve it, but because it frees you from bitterness. Say, "Lord, I release their words and actions to you. Transform their hearts and protect mine." Prayer is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of trust in God's ability to fight battles you cannot. There will be moments when their words awaken the child in you, the one who still craves their approval, who still hopes for their love to be unconditional. When this happens, remind yourself of a greater truth. You are already loved fully and completely by the one who matters most. Psalm 139:13-14 proclaims, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." You do not need to earn His love, and His opinion of you will never change. They will accuse you of being cold, distant, even heartless when you begin to protect yourself. But remember, distance is not cruelty. It is clarity. Say, "I am choosing distance because I need clarity. I still love you, but I cannot allow this relationship to harm me anymore." Your words must come from a place of strength, not anger. Let them feel your resolve, not your resentment. When their words manage to slip past your defenses, and they will because you are human, do not let guilt or shame take root. Take those wounds to God immediately. Lay them at His feet and say, "Lord, this pain is too heavy for me to carry. Heal my heart and remind me of my worth." The enemy will try to use their words to pull you back into old patterns of self-doubt. But you must counterattack with Scripture. Isaiah 54:17 declares, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper." Not their words, not their manipulation, not their judgment. And let us not forget prayer. Prayer is your ultimate defense. Pray for strength, pray for wisdom, and yes, pray for them. Not because they deserve it, but because it frees you from bitterness. Say, "Lord, I release their words and actions to you. Transform their hearts and protect mine." Prayer is not a sign of weakness. It is a declaration of trust in God's ability to fight battles you cannot. There will be moments when their words awaken the child in you, the one who still craves their approval, who still hopes for their love to be unconditional. When this happens, remind yourself of a greater truth. You are already loved, fully and completely, by the one who matters most. Psalm 139:13-14 proclaims, "For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made." You do not need to earn His love, and His opinion of you will never change. Do not let their attacks define your identity. You are not selfish, you are strong, you are not rebellious, you are righteous, you are not ungrateful, you are grounded. Hold on to this truth. They may see you as a villain, but God sees you as His beloved child, chosen for a purpose greater than their understanding. When their games escalate, when they try to rally others against you, remain steadfast. Do not engage in gossip or retaliation. Instead, say, "I will not participate in conversations that tear others down. My focus is on building a life of peace and purpose." Let them play their games alone. You do not need to defend yourself to those who are determined to misunderstand you. Finally, remember this: their attacks will never have the final say. God is your defender, your refuge, your shield. Psalm 91:4 assures us, "He will cover you with His feathers, and under His wings you will find refuge. His faithfulness will be your shield and rampart." You are not fighting this battle alone. The one who called you, who chose you, who walks beside you. Every step of the way is also the one who will silence your accusers. So, chosen ones, protect your peace as though your life depends on it, because it does. Protect your heart with the armor of God. Protect your mind with His truth. Protect your soul by staying rooted in His love. Let their words fall like arrows against a shield that cannot be broken. You were never meant to be what they wanted. You were always meant to be what God created. And that, my dear chosen ones, is more than enough. Let them talk. Let them judge. Let them misunderstand. You are not here to please them. You are here to fulfill His purpose. And in that purpose, you will find all the love, all the strength, and all the peace you need.